Straight answer, by talking just the way we're talking now. That's it. They allow us to do that. Now, at a certain point, when it starts taking effect, you can expect them to stop us from doing that. Us meaning what I'm doing right now. The reason the white supremacists, logically speaking, allow Neely Fuller to say the things that he's saying is because they don't look at Neely Fuller. The white supremacists learned a long time ago, before I was born. You don't have to pay attention to a spokesperson, a person that's speaking. Pay attention to the reaction of the people who are listening. And if the people who are listening are not changing anything that they are doing, so what? See, the white supremacists are pure scientists. They are very scientific people. They don't let their emotions dominate the science like non-white people do. We get fired up on emotion and forget all about logic. The white supremacists are surgical in their thinking. That's why they're successful at every move they make.
Wow.
And it has the non-white people. So therefore, they walk into a place and they will see a speaker, a black speaker, talking to thousands of people.
Okay.
But they'll listen to the black speaker for a few minutes, but mostly they study the reaction of the people who are listening. And if the people who are listening all file away, all walk away, and do not change as a result of what was said, the white supremacists say business as usual. So they study the reaction of the people who are listening. They don't care anything about the speaker at all. You know, the black people applaud, black speakers all over the place. And as far back as there have been black spokesperson or black, what we call black leaders, which is really a misnomer, But black people speak all the time. Neely Fuller's speaking. So what? If nobody listens and acts on what he's saying, the white supremacists do not care. They don't care how many radio programs you have, how many TV programs. You can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Wait.
If black people still hold on to what I started this program with, hold on tenaciously to what we call black culture. The white supremacists said, I invented black culture. That's what the white supremacists say. Black culture is nothing but a reaction to me. That's all it is. And it's a very sorry reaction. It has 4 components: primitive, pitiful, stupid, and or silly. Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. 2 people you named.
Yes.
What happened to them?
They got killed.
You better believe it. That's what happens to anybody who starts taking effect.
Okay.
Now, everybody who's still breathing, including Neely Fuller, they ain't effective. All right? They kill you when you're effective.
I got you, yeah.
All right. I mean, in other words, Neely Fuller's supposed to be digging his grave. As long as he's breathing, he knows that he's not effective, because the white supremacists will take you out of here in a minute. I mean, they got millions of ways of doing it, not just 1 or 2. I mean, there are a few people that didn't even get off the ground, like Patrice Lumumba.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't last no time.
No.
All right? Why? Because the Congo is real important to the white supremacists.
Ooh-wee.
And they don't ever intend, anytime soon, apparently, for anything constructive to happen among the black people in what we call the Congo. And they didn't waste no time getting rid of Patrice Lumumba.
No.
And even the person that helped them to get rid of Patrice Lumumba. And that was Moise Shambi. He didn't last suddenly got cancer. See, talking about chemical warfare or whatever, or disease warfare. Moise Shambi suddenly got cancer out of nowhere. And I think that's happened to several other people. See, the white supremacists work in package deals. They think of everything, not of one thing. They think of every move that a black person is ever going to make. It's like studying the chessboard or the checkerboard. An excellent checker player knows where you're going to move before you move. That's what makes an excellent checker player. And the white supremacists have turned out to be the greatest chess and checker players that the world has ever seen. Why? Because they know what a black person is going to do before the black person knows that he or she is going to do it himself. I mean, they sit back and laugh at us all the time. They say, they call us that name, that N-word. They say, I already know what that N is going to do. He doesn't know that he's going to do it, but I know he's going to do it because I know how he thinks. I know him better than he knows himself. So I know what he likes. I know what he doesn't like. I know how long he's going to work here. I know the day that I'm going to fire him before he even gets to the job. And I know how I'm going to fire him because I'm going to make him angry. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that. And among these people, I have studied them. They got a lot of what you call Negro pride or black pride. And so if you say this to them a certain way, they will curse you out and call you a bunch of MFs. They will do that. They can't help it.
You owe me some money, motherfucker!
And then you tell them you'll have to let them go. And then they will go. And then 6 months later, they will be back trying to get a job back because they will cool down. I already know that. And when he goes down there and tries to get a job from my brother has already been told that he's coming. So he'll turn him down. So he'll be right back here. And I'll tell him, yes, I'll hire you back at half of what you got before. How about it? Or you can go look for another job again until somebody decides to make you mad again, because we know what'll make you mad. We know what'll make you mad. We know what'll make you laugh. We'll have you laughing all over this place because you people love to laugh, even when there's nothing to laugh at. We know that because we trained you that way, like you train a dog. So if you just, all we really have to do is just say, hey, who's behind all of this stuff that's going on? We see what's going on the surface, and we are, chomping at the bit to jump on the black women who are out here, shaking and doing this and selling themselves and all like that. But wait a minute. They weren't born doing this. So who's really behind this? And I'm always saying, anything that seems like it may be non-constructive that you see black people doing, immediately go to the usual suspects. That's what we do. And that's what I do. I say, wait a minute. This looks like something that the usual suspects has come up with. Almost anything that I see black people are doing has got a question mark on it. It doesn't even have to be something destructive.
Mm-hmm.
But if it looks like it might be leading to something destructive, I always say, hey, let's check this out and see what the white supremacists have to do with this. Or if there are some white supremacists that have to do with it. Because the assumption should always be that anything that you see black people doing that may have a question mark behind it, always suspect that it's a plot by the white supremacists and be willing to say so to the whole world. Always say, and the term that you actually use exact terms, say the usual suspects, just like in the movie Casablanca. Say, hey, this looks like something concocted by the usual suspects. But they'll say, what are you talking about, fella? Who are the usual suspects? The white supremacists. It looks like another one of their schemes. Oh, yeah, but you don't have any proof of that and all that. I'm saying I suspect it. I don't have the proof, no. But I suspect it because it could be something destructive. Yeah, but it hasn't proven to be destructive so far. Yeah, so far. But I don't know what's going to happen when we turn around the corner. The usual suspects always throw out some bait, just like catching a fish. They always throw black people something that looks like it's good on the surface.
Right.
And then 50 years later, it turns out to be something that's totally poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're 50 years behind wrestling with that poison. Anytime they come down the pike, you should have one thing in mind. We're talking about what to do about things now. When I see them coming, this is a part of the code. when you see people coming, I'm not talking about all white people, but when you see white people approaching you with anything, any kind of new fad, anything, any kind of something that's going to help you, always have in your mind, here they come, what are they up to now? That should be on every black person's lips on the entire planet. Here they come again. What are they up to now? That should be your mindset.
Right.
Now, you'll have white people who say, oh, that's a terrible attitude to have. No, it isn't. Because if you're coming there to do something that's going to be constructive, we should be the first, after it's proven to be constructive, after we're running through every type of test, and we've seen, hey, this is really constructive. Hey, we should be the first to stand up and say, hey, we were suspicious of you, but that suspicion is gone because you have proven yourself to come with a constructive intent. Yes, we need a code for everything. The white supremacists, if people will permit me to use that term, because I'm not going to move from it. I've had all kinds of suggestions down through the decades about, well, stop saying white supremacy. And I'm going to say, no, I'm going to say it because it works. When you actually use it, it works. You may not think that it works, but it works. White people don't like that term, even though they are the ones that gave it to me. I never heard this term, white supremacy, until I heard it from white people. They were bragging about the use of it. But I stick with what they're bragging about because one thing, it's true, okay? Supreme just means a person can tell me what to do and I don't know what to do about it and I don't want to do it. But I still have to do it because I don't know what to do about it. That's all supreme means. Okay, and if you base that on being white and you are able to pull it off, then that's true. Now, I say in order to solve a problem, you first have to recognize it is a problem, even though the problem is more powerful than I am. I can't walk around in jail saying I'm not a prisoner because it makes me feel better. Many black people want to feel better instantly. That is natural. I fully understand that. But if you're a prisoner of war and you decide while you're a prisoner, you know what? I'm going to stop calling myself a prisoner. I'm going to say that I'm a king. I ain't no prisoner. I'm a king. And that warden, he's the prisoner. Look, he's on the other side of the bars. See? So he's my prisoner. I got him in jail. That's why he's here. He's right here with me. And so that makes me feel better. Sure, that's a big temptation. But that doesn't motivate you to tear down them prison walls. See what I mean? Because that's what I'm trying to get to do. And that takes some courage. And that takes admission of the truth that we have been beaten. We're not just walking around doing whatever we want to do, the black people of this planet. We have already been beaten. But we need to get some adrenaline going to fight against the thing that has conquered us. Because it's what? Evil. And it needs to be replaced. We're not just trying to survive in this system. No. We are trying to dismantle the entire system, or we should be. And anytime that's not our objective, then we have no business doing anything. Well, according to what I've written in the code book, black people are not qualified to celebrate anything. Prisoners are not in a celebratory condition. Black people are prisoners of war. The non-white people of the planet in the system of white supremacy were born in captivity. We're still born in captivity, all of us. Everybody of color on the planet is born in captivity. Captivity to whom? To racist man and racist woman, the white supremacists of this planet. You're born inside of their prison because they dictate what you do in all 9 areas of activity and what you don't do. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. They dictate this to all of the non-white people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to think, speak, and act according to what they allow you to do. So you're in prison. And so you're not, prisoners are not qualified. They can go ahead and do it, but you're not qualified to celebrate anything. But the white supremacists love for their prisoners to celebrate everything, including being in prison. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
Okay? Have fun. Get out there in the prison yard, and I mean, hey, just turn flips and sing and dance and play banjo. Slaves are always encouraged to do this.
To act a fool.
Entertain yourselves. Entertain yourselves until you drop. But just be back on that job come Monday.
Yeah.
All right?
And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you. I know you. I know your father, your grandfather. I had them in chains. You can get in each other's face. You can run around with your little 9mm killing each other. Don't you get in my face at all. I'll let you talk and act. Sometimes let you talk and act tough to me. But remember, I'm letting you do this. Because I don't have to let you do anything, including breathing. And there's nothing can stop me. And you don't know anybody who's big enough to do it. So quit acting. And that's what I say in the books that I've written. We need to stop being actors. We're always talking about keeping it real. That's black people in the Northwestern Hemisphere. But we're the most unrealistic people on the planet. Quietly looked upon as a bunch of jokes. But people talk nice to us because they don't want to be bothered with us. They'll talk nice, but at the same time in their thoughts, they couldn't think anything else except these people are just about completely worthless as any creatures can possibly be. And how do I say that? I'm talking about this is the voice of the white supremacists now, because I have made them that way. The only way they get to be worth anything is when I make them worth something. I tell them what they're worth. They don't know. They don't even know what to do with themselves when they get up in the morning, except what I tell them. Go here, go there. That's the only time they make sense. Other than that, they don't know anything. And proof of it is I can say, hey, I'm going to make some hats out of hubcaps. I got surplus hubcaps in my warehouse on some cars that I haven't even manufactured yet. And I don't know what to do with those surplus hubcaps. I don't want to throw them away. I got millions of them. But I got a bunch of black people out there who are just looking for something to do. They don't know what to do. They just look at this great big universe, a great big world. Look up and down the streets. They don't know what to do or where to go at any given moment. So I always, as usual, find something for them to do. So the next thing I'll do is the little money I've allowed them to have, I'm going to take these hubcaps that I ordinarily would put on some cars, and I'm going to say that they are no longer hubcaps, that they are hats. And I'll have all these millions of black people walking around with these hubcaps on their heads. And give it a fancy name like Zapsters, you know. And people will be asking, what's a Zapster? Hey, man, that's the new hats, man. I mean, you square. You don't know what's up. You don't know. You haven't bought you a Zapster yet. $800 a piece, man. I got 2 of them. My buddy got them at a discount. He works over there where they got the stuff stored. And some white supremacists, about 23 years old, right out of college, thought up the idea. We'll sell them to the black people. We don't have to throw them away. Call them zapsters. What's a zapster? That's a hat that black people wear. That's the identifying thing. They always need something to identify themselves with, as if their skin color doesn't identify them enough. They always got to have something artificial, something that I made up. Or if they make it up, I'll be the one who will control it, and I'll sell it to them for the little money that I allow them to have, and have them out here killing each other to have them. And a name like Zapster would be appropriate, too, because they'd be zapping other black people trying to get them. Put 5 shots in somebody and grab that Zapster. Keep it in the closet for about a week and then come out wearing it. A hubcap. That's the way millions of us think. Rather than say, wait a minute. I'm not doing nothing of the kind. I'm not going out and buying none of that stuff. I'm not going to even wear it if they give it to me. I'm going to start doing some thinking for the first time in my existence on my own. Something that is very destructive. Whatever is going to cause destruction is evil. That's basically it.
Okay.
Now, everybody is capable of doing something that is destructive. And the white supremacist wants to emphasize destructive activity, evil activity, something that's going to always have a non-constructive result among dark-skinned people. This is their goal. They don't want to see non-white people doing anything that's constructive. They panic when they see that. If you're doing anything that makes sense, they practically lose their minds. No, we can't have them like that. We got to have them in a state of mind where they're doing stupid stuff all the time, destructive stuff all the time. Anytime that you look up and dark-skinned people are coming around, something very ugly is going to happen, because they're going to make ugly things happen because we teach them to do ugly things, and we want to keep them in that frame of mind. If we lose that grasp on being able to control their behavior in a manner that they are non-constructive, except when we want them to be constructive. When we want them to be constructive for our benefit, then we'll allow them to do something constructive. But when they're among each other, see to it, watch them real close, and see to it that they don't do anything constructive. Because when they do something constructive, it means we're out of business. And we don't intend to be out of business. And what is our business? Mistreating people based on color. That's our business. That's our reason for being. That's our only reason for wanting to even breathe or be on the planet. What is the purpose of white supremacy? Mistreating people based on color for the fun, glory, and material benefit of people who are classified as white. That's the purpose of white supremacy in the modern day. Initially, it may have been another purpose, like genetic survival. But now they have been on such a roll for so long, it's for fun, glory, and material gain for the benefit of people classified as white, and for the complete confusion, destruction, and self-destruction among people classified as non-white. That's how they think the entire planet should be run forever. And when you're subject to a system where the system is designed to be insulting, And that's the system of racism. And all non-white people are subject to that system. That's my evaluation. Then you can expect to be insulted each and every day, either directly or indirectly, even when you don't think you're being insulted, even when the insulting language is not used. You're still being insulted by being subject to an insulting system, because the system of racism is insulting, and that's the only system that we have ever known. When I say we, I mean the people who are classified as non-white. The white supremacists, and that's the correct title for them, of this planet, are the dominant political and religious force and economic force, if you want to use the term economics. I don't use it within that context, but they are the dominant people on the planet when it comes to non-white people. So non-white people can expect. We shouldn't get jolted when we're insulted or call names, anything like that. You can't, there's no way to pretty it up anyway. And when people do try to pretty up an incorrect system, then they are going more into the realm of illusion. And that is going to engender more frustration, confusion, and ultimately disappointment and anger. Because you can't walk around trying to evade reality. We're in a racist system. We're not in any other system. Racism is not something that people encounter every now and then. We're in a racist system. The entire system is racist. There's no part of the system that is not racist. In every area of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now what does that mean? It means that the people who have chosen to be racist, meaning white supremacists, have become the most powerful political and religious people on the planet when it comes to non-white people. People who are classified as black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, etc., etc. And so therefore, that's an insulting system. And so black people have gotten to the place, particularly in the modern times, since what we call the post-chattel slavery, black people expect to be respected. That's why black people kill each other, many of them, many of the younger black people more than anybody, about this thing called dissing or being disrespected. You're in a disrespectful system. And all the killing that black people do among each other all the time, saying you're disrespecting me, therefore I have to kill you so that you won't disrespect me anymore. And then you run right into the same thing again and again and again. How many bodies can you stack up? Because you are being disrespected in a disrespectful system. If you're classified as black, you're not supposed to be respected. You're on a slave ship. The entire planet is a slave ship. It's not called that, but that's basically what it is. And the destination of that ship is just its own destination, meaning subjugation to the system of racism. There's no black person anywhere on the planet who is not subject to the system of racism. So you wake up in the morning, go through the day, and go to bed that night, and all through the night while you're asleep, you're being disrespected. You're being insulted because you have been put into a prison based on your color. That is one of the biggest insults, not only that a person can receive, but it's really a slap in the face and an attempted insult to the creator of the universe. But the white supremacists don't care about that. They don't mind insulting the creator of the universe. They'll say, I don't like your creation. You made all these black, brown, red, and yellow people and put them among me. I'm supposed to have the planet to myself. And since they're here, though, I will insult them and I will kick them around. Your product even though I am your product. I don't want to be bothered with these other products that you made. So actually, they are not only at war with the black people of this planet, they're at war with their creator and with ours. Unless I've been misinformed. Every black person on the planet who has been exposed to white supremacy, and the assumption is every black person on the planet has been, even when they haven't been in contact with white people directly. They've been exposed to the white culture indirectly. White culture is about white supremacy. Now, what does white supremacy do? It teaches people of color that if you are a male, you cannot be a man, period. Not in the system of white supremacy. And you're not going to be treated like a man, ever. Now, you can walk around and think that you're a man, but that's between you and you, strictly between you and yourself, because no white person has an obligation, if you're a black male, to treat you like you are a man. And it's logical simply because in the system of white supremacy, it's impossible for a black male to be a man. It doesn't make any difference how old he gets or what he knows or what kind of connections. That can't be done. I just start with myself. I'm not eligible, not qualified to be a man. Why? Because I was born in captivity, that's why. When you're in captivity, when you're a prisoner of war, you are strictly that and nothing else, a prisoner of war, a victim of white supremacy. And you don't have another title. You can give yourselves all kinds of titles, which is why black people love titles. We give ourselves all kinds of titles. We give each other all kinds of titles. Some titles, it's not as bad as it was in the old days. I say bad, if you want to use that word. But some people used to say professor, reverend, most high. I mean, before you ever get to a name, you would have about 40 titles, when somebody introduces you, if you're supposed to be what you call a big shot Negro in the old days. This is not new. This goes way back. That struggle. Oh, I'd just love to be a man. I mean, what can it take? But by this generation, what you call the new millennia, most young black people have looked around. They have looked at the people that came before them who, since the 1960s, the white supremacists have done a rough job on black malehood. First of all, giving them an option that you can continue to be a big boy, or if you really want to get some material benefits, put on some gold slippers and skip around, and grin all the time and all like that, and have a little money in your pocket. Now you can be a black girl if you're a black male. You can be a black girl, but you cannot be a man. You will never be a man in the system of white supremacy. Now, they have put that in cement. They have written, or rather in steel, or whatever the hardest subject, a diamond. The white supremacists have put that philosophy out here since the 1970s. That's the benchmark that I give it. All over the world, and they're spreading it. They're saying, you're not going to be a man. You're a black male, and you think you're going to be a man on my watch? On my watch? This is the voice of the white supremacists now, racist man and racist woman. Say, that's not going to happen. Say, now Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad and all that, they said that that's what they're going to make you out of, but it's not going to happen. Now, you can talk it, but you make any move to make that real, and you're going to wonder what fell on you. Now, they have made that clear to all of us, and the young black people have picked up that signal, and they say, well, if I can't be a man and I don't want to be like my sisters, I don't want to switch around all day looking for a male, and I pretend to be a female or try to switch over and be one if they can operate on me and make me one, because then things become easier. I guess, I hope, but I definitely can't be a man because I'm in big trouble if I try to be, then what can I be? Well, the white supremacist said, well, I'll give you another outside option. You can go around and pretend that you're a man by doing harm to other black people. That's cursing out black females, calling them names and all like that. Write songs about them where you call them all kinds of names and kick them all up and down the street. We don't care about that. Kick your mother up and down the street. I mean, we rejoice when we see you do that, okay? But if you start acting anything like you ask for respect from us, the white supremacists, boy, you're going to get dead real quick. Most black males, we know that because they teach us that in no uncertain terms. When we really start asserting ourselves and say, you're going to respect me as a man. And the white supremacist said, you tell that to other black people. But don't you get in my face ever, boy, and act like you're even thinking like that, dealing with me. Now, I'll play with you for a little while. I'll laugh and joke with you. But if you get serious and think that you're going to be a man and when I'm here, because there ain't but one man in this house, and when I say house, I mean the entire planet Earth. Anytime you think with your black self, you're going to be a man in my presence, you got another thing coming. Now, like I said, I'll play with you. I'll kid around with you. I'll joke with you. I'll play some ball games with you and all like that. Don't you ever think that you're a man. You're a boy, or you can act like your sisters and be a girl, and you ain't got no other choices with me. But you got all kind of choices with your own people, even though your own people are really not your own people. They are mine too. But you can kill them. You can tell them, ain't nobody going to disrespect you. Well, you tell that to other black people, boy. Well, don't you ever even think it in my presence. You don't even have to say it. Don't you even act like you might be thinking that, or you're going to find out what the hell is. And you know what? The white supremacists are proving that they can deliver on that message every time, and I don't care who you are if you're black on this planet. When you really put them to an acid test, they have so far proven that nobody will take them on because nobody knows how to, including Neely Fuller. I'm just trying to find out. I'm in their prison, too. I was born in their prison, too. So to get to the crux of what we're talking about here, for black males, we're talking about manhood. And it's not going to happen, folks. As long as you have the system of white supremacy in place and not having a system of justice. This is why, rather than run around killing each other, that's not going to help. And I can understand it because we've been held back so long and beaten down so much. I mean, just when we make just a few baby steps or just crawl up to, just being able to crawl across a living room floor. I mean, we are just so proud because we have had so little to be proud of. But that's no reason to not be mathematical. Whatever created the universe wants us to tap into the logic that comes with the universe. And then we can just zip ahead. I mean, we can step lively. I mean, not slogging along and struggling and dragging. I mean, like it's going to take us forever just to go from the front door to the back door of a house. I mean, when the whole world is on the move, going all over the universe, and we can't even get to the bus stop without saying that's a real chore. I mean, and people just look at us and say, what kind of example is that for anybody to follow? We don't even want to pay attention to each other because we're such poor examples. And poor examples come from just what? Poor thinking. Everything starts with a thought. Our thoughts are too small, much too small. I mean, just trying to impress each other and do nothing else in life but, well, I impressed about 15 or 20 black people, sometime this year, my buddies, and they feel proud of me, and boy, do I feel good. When the white supremacists look at that and say, have you been to the bottom of the ocean? Do you know what's there? Well, I have. Do you go into outer space and back? Well, I have. Do you know where everything is under a place called the Congo? All of the minerals there? Well, I do. And I haven't even gotten started. And you are bragging about something that you bought or stole in a store, in a hood, and walking around with some shoes on with some white person's name on it and bragging about what you got. And you think that that is the end of life, that you have now done everything that there is to do in life on account of you got some $600 shoes that you never had on before. Now that is the literal definition in the minds of the white supremacists of the N-word. That's what that is that you're looking at. That's what you call that type of thinking. And every white person looking at his offspring, his white child will say, and that is what you don't ever want to be, is one of those creatures that walk around thinking like that. You don't ever want to think at that level. And they are telling their offspring that when they're about 6 years old. So when they get to be about 30, they are taking the place of their elders and running the entire universe like they have continued to do like forever. But I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about the white supremacists, whom black people right this minute all over the world are trying to say, I got to get out of here and find out which way the white people went so I can be around some people that got some sense. Because I can't stand being around these people that I was raised up with, because we ain't about nothing and ain't trying to be about nothing except just feeding off of each other and then getting mad about that. Can't stand ourselves and can't stand nobody that looks like us, truth be told. So which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Congo, which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Southside Chicago, which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Compton, which way did the white folks go? Well, why are you asking that? Because I can't stand this insanity here, that's why. Well, it's insane over there, yeah, but it's still better than here because there ain't no other place to go that makes sense. I ain't going where no more black people are because I know that they're not going to make sense in nothing that they do. You don't see black people clamoring to go nowhere on this planet where there are other black people, except where those black people, those other black people, are in contact with some white people who know how to get things done in an orchestrated, codified manner. Because that's the only places where anything is happening, truth be told. But it's the white supremacists' fault, because they set it up like that. But we shouldn't keep falling for it and pretending like it's not true. That's why I'm going to keep saying what I say. White supremacy. And don't dress it up, because it's the truth. They supreme. Well then, all right, if they're not supreme, who is? Well, black people built the pyramids. That's not what I asked. I asked, who is supreme over you right now? There ain't nobody supreme over me with my God. Oh, okay. Well, what does your God tell you what to do? I go into the question mode now. And that's how you handle religion, too. Just go into question mode. The minute a person says that God is their leader, you keep asking questions. And then after they answer the questions, don't argue. Don't ever argue with a person about religion. Get back to that barber shop now, where religion is talked about all the time. Don't ever argue about religion. Just ask questions about that person's religion. And then when that person gets through talking about how much they believe in their religion, then watch and see what they do when the white supremacists come around. That's the test about who their God is. If you don't have to say nothing. Just watch what they do when the white supremacists come around and say, I don't like what you're doing. And well, what I'm doing is according to my religion. You going to tell me with your black self, and I'm a white person in the system of white supremacy, and with your black self, you're going to tell me about religion and what your religion tells you to do, and I just told you to do something that's just the opposite? Oh, now it's testing time now. And every black person on the planet understands that. And Neely Fuller don't have to say nothing. I just stand back and watch. That's a directive, a suggestion, on page 108 of the revised expanded edition of the textbook for victims of white supremacy. Use words as scientific weapons. That's a suggestion that I made as a remedy, to helping to remedy the disease of white supremacy. Use words as scientific weapons, because that's what they do. Study and use words, the definition of words, and or the production of words in such a manner as to cause the white supremacists to decide to do one of two things. In other words, this should be, for victims of white supremacy, your intermediate goal toward the production of universal man and universal woman. And there's two things that you set as a goal when you start out in resisting white supremacy and trying to eliminate it and replace it with justice. And that is, number one, replace white supremacy with justice between people, or kill all of the non-white people of the known universe. Now, that's what you are trying to force the white supremacists to do. Why? Because whatever you do to oppose them, if they're not going along with it, that's what they're going to do anyway. They're going to kill all the non-white people of the known universe. You want to put them in that position where they have to make that decision. Either replace the system of racism with justice. That's one thing they can do, because that's what you're trying to force them to do or persuade them to do. And the other thing, if they can't do that or don't want to do it, you force them or persuade them to actually kill all of us, the non-white people of the known universe. And it's logical, because if you're opposing something that doesn't want to be moved, you leave them with no other option. That's what you want to do. Leave them with no other options. Try to narrow down the number of options that they have when you try to persuade and or force the white supremacists of this universe to stop being white supremacists.
Mm-hmm.
You're there. So if you're going to replace the system of white supremacy, that's number one. The logical thing that you would replace it with is a system of justice, because the system of white supremacy is a system of non-justice.
Correct.
It guarantees it. Now, if they don't want to do justice, then that leaves them with one other option.
Which is?
To kill all of the non-white people of the planet. And here's why you force them to do this, or rather, this is the suggestion that I'm making. Suppose they say, well, we're not going to do justice, so that leaves us one other option, because we're sick of you black people. We're just sick of you. We're sick of you. I mean, you're not going to do what we say, so, hey, make the rubber meet the road. I mean, now either you fall in line and keep doing what we say do, which is be subordinate to an unjust system, or I'm going to kill all of you. So how do you respond to that type of ultimatum? You say, okay, go ahead and do it. You said you're going to do it, do it. You got the muscle to do it, like in The Godfather. Frank Tangela was talking to Michael Corleone and said, hey, hit us while you got the muscle, because you do have the muscle. You can kill all of the black people on this planet. You can actually kill them all. The white supremacists can do that. And all we can do is just try to run and hide and fight the best way we can, run all over the place like chickens with no heads, because we wouldn't know where to go to escape it. There's no certain place. There's no, designated place where we can flee to. That's clear of anybody who has, thought about it and given it serious thought. If you have white supremacy, they can go any place, not only on this planet, but maybe on other planets. So on this planet called Earth, if the white supremacists decide that they are going to slaughter, have a mass slaughter, set a date, actually announce it, say that, hey, find a place to run and hide, and to make it sporting, because the white supremacists love to make killing a sport. That's why they write all these murder mysteries and whatnot. That's why they entice black people to make movies about killing, okay? I mean, kill is a sport. Killing people is a sport in the system of white supremacy. It's a great form of entertainment, a massive form of entertainment. So they'll just say, let's make this entertaining, all right? You black people love entertainment. Well, we can entertain you with a lot of killing, like we have been doing, and you can get a lot of entertainment yourself by dying from our killing. But we're going to make a sport out of it by saying, say this is January, give you a year to find a place to hide and to get your guns ready and everything. We'll make a sport out of it, And then we'll say, okay, you ready? Okay, because this is January the 1st of the next year. This is kickoff time, so we're coming after you. And we're going to kill you wherever we find you. Babies, everybody. Everybody black, you're going. The wagon is coming today, January the 1st of this particular year that they designate, and everybody agrees on. They're coming after you. Fight the best way you can. Run the best way you can. Hide the best way you can. But we are, when we find you, are going to kill you, and it ain't nobody coming to your rescue, because nobody got that kind of muscle. Now, this is exactly what black people are supposed to be trying to force the white supremacists of this planet to do, or do justice. Number one is to do justice. That's what we really should want. That's what I want.
Yes.
But they may decide, no, we're not doing justice under no circumstance. We're not going to give you... No, we're not doing justice. We're not in the business of doing justice. So we got another option. If you're not going to fall in line with what we've been doing all the time, we're going to kill you all. So I say, do it. And there are a lot of black people who say, Fuller, don't invite that. It's not an invitation. It's what they're going to have to do anyway. I don't care how you approach it if they're not going to do justice. Otherwise, we have to put up with justice into injustice, non-justice, into infinity. What are the white supremacists doing now? They're doing four basic things: racial showcasing, racial population tailoring, racial dislocation, and white sacrificing. And these four things are designed to produce maximum sophisticated confusion among the victims, and so far is being somewhat successful worldwide. Now I'll start with the
them out front. There's going to be more of this all over the planet. Many millions of black people that you will see who will be rolling in money. They'll be able to showcase the places where they live. They'll be able to showcase their knowledge and expertise. So you have television now, you have all of the mediums for doing this, for showcasing huge numbers of black people. I will say it will eventually run into the millions, so many that you won't be able to count them. Now, what is this for? This is for any black person that starts talking about racism in the future is going to be laughed at, because they're going to be able to showcase so many black people who are what you call quote-unquote successful, that it will seem that racism has been put out of business. But white supremacy is a world business, and like any other business, it works on profits and losses, which means percentages. You go into business, you expect a certain amount of loss. If you're in the grocery business, well, you might have a load of asparagus that is spoiled. But overall, you will make more profits than you have losses if you're going to stay in the business. Now, so the white supremacists know that the cost of doing the business of white supremacy is going up. They can no longer get away with Joe Louis and Lena Horne like they did years ago. They have to have many more black people who are going to be showcased. I made up this term just to explain it. You have to make up terms, because they won't make them up for you. So now that's the first phase, or one of the first elements in the maximum confusion. And so that black people won't be able to say, they'll say, well, you know, it must be something wrong with me that I'm down and out and don't have a biscuit to eat, because there are so many millions of black people who have so much, so it can't be race. But see, for the 4 or 5 million black people who will be showcased, there will be hundreds of millions worldwide who won't have a biscuit. That's the way the business operates in the future and will be. That's the way it seems to be going according to what? The evidence, according to the logic. The other is racial population tailoring. That's number 2, meaning they're going to be killing huge numbers, either directly or indirectly, of non-white people. When I say black people, I mean, you know, non-white. Anybody who's in the non-white category, and doing this on an ongoing basis. Not to try to kill them all, because when you're in the business of racism, you don't kill off the thing that you need in order to keep racism going. Your ego trip, which is what it's really all about. But you do tailor the population so you can keep them controlled. So you'll kill off a few million in the Congo, then a few years up the road, you'll kill off a few million in Nigeria, and a few years up the road, you'll kill off a few in Mexico, and on and on and on. And you will highly select the places where you do this. You'll have it all computerized, where you kill off huge numbers, or you have them, even better still, kill off each other, like you do in most of the cities in the northwestern part of the world, called the northwestern hemisphere. Having black people gun down each other, you know, non-white people, the brown people gunning down each other, gangs and all that other foolishness, see? And you kill them off, you know, and you just keep this going and you egg it on. And you put things in place that will see to it that it just keeps going that way. It never stops, because that's the mentality of the people. And this is racial population tailoring. In other places where the people are reasonably sane, they don't have a tendency to kill off each other, then you do things like dry up the water, or poison the rivers, dump toxic waste. There's all kinds of ways to do that racial population tailoring. All right, then the other, number 3, is racial dislocation. Keep them moving. People who are forever on the move through eminent domain, urbanization, urban renewal, gentrification, or, here again, drying up the river. You build a dam 800 miles up, and the river seals off the water behind the dam. I mean, the dam is sealed off, the river is sealed off behind the dam. So that means that all the people down in the valley there, they don't get any water. They need water. They depend on the fishing industry. So now they have to come and work for you because there's no more water there, no more fish. And you give them minimum wage and a promise for the future as long as they look up to you. So they'll know they're completely dependent. But keep them moving. If a black person in the Northwestern Hemisphere starts getting that second generation house, then you come through and say you got to build a highway. That's the technique. Now these are things that you asked about how the white supremacists operate. These are the ways that they operate. The white sacrificing is the fourth. And this is, here again, all four of these things are for maximum sophisticated confusion among the victims. So you're not confused. You're keeping your victims confused. So you have white sacrifices, meaning it's kind of parallel to the racial showcasing. But these people in this case are white. Like in any army or any military operation, you know you're going to have some losses. So some white people are written off under the system of white supremacy. And a lot of white people are aware of this. They don't like it, but they are told that this is the cost of doing business. Just like a person who goes into the army and knows full well you might get killed. But it goes with the territory of trying to defend your bigger operation. So white sacrifices mean you'll have more and more white people on park benches, more and more white people begging on streets. They will be greatly visible. But what you won't pay attention to, because black people never pay much attention to what white people are doing, we just watch each other. See, they know that. You'll be passing millions of white people who are doing well on any city street. And for the handful of white people who have fallen through the cracks, you might say, sitting in front of the subways or begging in front of these the delicatessen, for the handful that you see doing that, up under the bridge and all like that, it will give the illusion that it's not about race, that white supremacy is officially out of business. So there will be more of these white sacrifices, and they will be greatly visible. But compared to the number of white people who will be prospering, it will be very negligible worldwide. Now those are the four maximum sophisticated confusion elements.
Money is a tool. Racism is a religious philosophy that's also a tool, but it is a superior philosophy to money. Nothing is money. You can say that a rock is money. A diamond is a rock. A shiny rock. And they make it shiny, because I understand that diamonds in the rough are not very shiny. I don't know whether that's true or not. But even if they did or didn't shine, what is money? Money is whatever the white supremacists say that it is. That's why the white supremacist philosophy is superior to money, because money doesn't make the white supremacists. The white supremacists make money. I worked in a place called the Bureau of Engraving and Printing for many years, and they printed something called money on paper. It was blank paper, and then when they ran it through a press, it came out being money. And it had $10 on it, $20, $50, $100, sometimes called Benjamins, because it had Benjamin Franklin's name on it, whatnot. And George Washington, #1, the $1 bill, a slave owner, Thomas Jefferson, a $2 bill, a slave owner. So they have slave owners' pictures on money. So what's superior, the money or the person that owns the money, the person who makes the money, the person whose pictures go on the money? So if I make something, I'm superior to the thing that I made. So the money's not controlling me. I'm controlling the money because I made the money. That's obvious. And so that's where I got that from. I say that the system of white supremacy is the strongest religion in the world. Because what is a religion? A religion is a strong belief backed up by action. And nobody has ever come up with a philosophy stronger than the system of white supremacy and put it into action.
Okay.
Other people are running trying to catch up. They'll say, well, I have a religion, but I'm having problems trying to practice my religion because people keep interfering with my religion. And my religion is at a disadvantage. And I'm, say, for example, I'm a Christian, but people are always opposing me as a Christian, and it's a real struggle trying to keep this Christianity thing going, and I'm having problems trying to get people to follow the Christian religion, and they're being persecuted. Well, the white supremacists don't have that problem because ain't nobody persecuting them. I mean, hey, they don't take no guff from nobody. I don't care what your religion is, your philosophy, or how much money you got if you're black. The white supremacists said, hey, you ain't seen money like me. I'm a white person in the system of white supremacy, and I am money. I'm walking money. Any money that you have doesn't mean anything until I say so with your black self. That's why the code says the system of white supremacy is the most powerful religion ever thought up in the minds of the people of this planet. I don't know about other planets, but on this planet they prove it every minute of every day. Well, I'll go right straight to the textbook itself. First of all, you ask, what is a friend? Now, there's no way for anybody to be friends in a non-just system. That's just not going to happen. People kick that word friend around just like we kick around a lot of words. Use a lot of words very loosely without having definition for what we're talking about. It's impossible to have a friend in the system of white supremacy. Why? We're in a non-just system. So you can't have a white friend or a non-white friend. You can't have a friend, period. You just do the best you can in a system that's rotten to the core. It's all rotten. Even though, it has a lot of sweetness to it, artificial sweetener, you might say. The white supremacists know how to do tons of that. They know how to sugarcoat everything, okay? So we get that taste of the sugar, but that's not genuine. It's not genuine. It's not real. You cannot have true friendship in a non-just system, but you just do the best you can to do what? Minimize the harm that you do to people. Try to be as constructive as you possibly can, but you can't have a white friend or a non-white friend in a system that doesn't allow friendship. There's no such thing as friendship in a non-just system. It's just people doing stuff. So the stuff that you do, just try to make it as constructive as you possibly can, knowing full well you can't get it the way that it ought to be. There's no way you can get any kind of relationship the way that it ought to be in a system that's set up to prevent everything from being the way that it ought to be when it comes to interaction between people. It's not going to happen.
Wow.
Trying to pretend that it's happening is just that. Now, we are excellent pretenders because we hurt all the time. So what we do is go around all day pretending. We're pretending that we have friends. The white supremacists do not allow that. Friendship means you have justice. What does that mean? What we've been repeating in this program all the time. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's a big order. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated at no time? You guarantee that? But that's what you got to have if you got justice. And the other part is guaranteeing that everybody who needs constructive help gets it. You got to guarantee that. No half-stepping. No, I'll see about it next week. No, you got to guarantee it right now. That doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. But that's the way it should have been in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes.
Of time. All right? But everything got off track, and the white supremacists have made sure that it stays off track.
Yes.
Because they believe in mistreating people deliberately and dominating people and getting people to mistreat each other. So you don't have this friendship.
Absolutely.
There's no way to get it.
That's the royal category. The royal category based on color. You have all kinds of royalism, kings and queens and all like that. The system of white supremacy is a category based on color and non-color. And if you're in the color category, black, brown, red, yellow, beige, tan, etc., then you are eligible to be dominated and mistreated by people who classify themselves as the non-color white. And I kind of went in depth on that, but basically that's really what it's all about. It's just a form of mistreatment based on color. That's what white supremacy is. That's what I have in my book, and that's what I've been saying all down through the decades and whatnot. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Now sometimes people say, well, you mean everything that I understand will confuse me if I don't understand racism? Yes, because racism is the dominant political and religious motivating force among the people of the planet in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. That covers just about everything that any person, minute by minute, might be doing or engaged in any time of day or night, anywhere on the planet.
Well, when it comes to a person of color, just look around to what happens everywhere that you go on the planet when it comes to a person of color, and ask, why is it that if you're in Venezuela, if you're in Brazil, except maybe for a few minutes in Mardi Gras time, if you are in Ethiopia, if you are a person of color in Ohio, in New York City, in Ontario, why is it that when white people look at you, they see something different than they see when they look at a white person? And that they act on that difference, and that difference is usually directly, indirectly, to your detriment. Why is it that you have what you call black neighborhoods, black communities, black churches, a black church? Just that. Something we've gotten used to. That's what we call them. We don't even call them Christian churches. We call them black churches and white churches. Why is that? There's got to be a reason for that. So I'm saying everywhere you go, color is the dominant feature in anything. The color of a person's skin. That's dominant. That takes precedent over everything. There's nothing that comes before that. Nobody's religion comes before that. First thing is, what color is that person coming down the road? What is the color classification? If you look at the census in the northwestern hemisphere, the census is all about what? A thing called race. Let's get that straight before we start talking about money or anything else. What race do you belong to? And then they have the races, what's so-called races, R-A-C-E-S, based on what? What color somebody is. All right? Now, I understand they're doing a little modification now, a little juggling and whatnot, and they're coming up with something called the German race and the Irish race. But really, in the system of white supremacy, it's just one race, and that is the white race. There's no such thing as another race of people anywhere in the known universe.
Mm-hmm.
According to what? According to logic. So that's why I say that's the dominant government. It actually cancels out all other governments. There's no such thing as, a communist government other than the government of white supremacy. A socialist government other than the government of white supremacy. A capitalist government other than the government of white supremacy. A Christian government, Muslim government, Confucian government, Hindu government. No. Color is more powerful than all of those so-called governments put together. What color somebody is, more powerful. That's the first order of business. They say, oh yeah, well, you're talking about money and you're talking about this, you're talking about capitalism, you're talking about Wall Street, you're talking about starvation in Bangladesh and whatnot. Wait a minute, before we even get to that. What color are the people? What color are the people that you're talking about? Before we go any further, let's get that straight. We want to know what color the people are. What color the people are. We're talking about borders now. You got people coming across borders. Wait a minute. What color are those people coming across the border? Any border. What color are those people out there in the desert? What color are those people up there on the moon? If there's any up there, what color are they? Let's get that straight first. Then we'll talk about the other stuff. Because the other stuff don't matter no way. It's what color they are that matters. We're not caring about these two-bit religions. All of them don't matter. Color comes first. They are supreme. I didn't say better. Supreme just means, hey, they can tell you what to do and you can't tell them. That makes them supreme. That's what white supremacy means. They can tell you what to do, but you can't tell them. You can't make them do nothing. And they'll challenge you if they, of course we usually don't challenge them. We'll stand there when we're mad and say we demand, but that's not really what we mean. We really mean we're asking in a loud voice, because we can't demand nothing. Because see what when it comes right down to it, when they back up and say, okay, you say you're demanding, you're going to make me do what you want me to do? All right, do it. Say, come on now. Say, now you do this among your own people, you get away with it, but you're dealing with a master now. Make me. All this stuff you're talking about that you got to have, make me. You're intelligent. You said that you are. You said your people are this and that, and you come from a long line of this. Make me. None of us have proven that we can meet that yet. None of us. In all these years, some of us can talk pretty loud, and we can do a job on each other like you wouldn't believe. But when Master Man says, make me, we melt. And the evidence shows it. Now, is that supposed to make us feel real bad and crawl under a rock and all like that? No. That's what makes you strong. Why? According to logic. To admit that you're a prisoner of war is strength, if that's what you are. That's the first step toward not being a prisoner. Realize that you are one.
But see, black males in particular, we like to flex our muscles. Boy, do we ever like to act like we are really men. And we will slaughter each other on 8th Street out there any day in the week to prove it. We ain't nowhere close. Because when the real man comes around, we melt. You see us running across parking lots and hiding under cars. When if we were real men, we'd meet him halfway. We'd say, where is it? You ain't saying nothing but the word. Where is it? Point to which way he's coming from. All right? No.
Depends on what you want. You're going to have to be very specific about what you want. And you're not going to get most of what you want, most likely, under these conditions. The conditions will not nourish what it is you want. We're not in a society where non-white people in their relationships with each other are given nourishing platforms. We're not given anything to help us to get along with each other. So don't expect it. See, disappointment comes from expectation. We are in a situation that should never have existed. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everything is problematic in all of the 9 areas of activity. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. So a black female, if I understand your question, cannot look forward to a constructive relationship with anybody. Because black people in general cannot look forward to that under this system. The system does not allow it. So all you can really do is minimize conflict. But you can't get it the way it ought to be. If you're looking for a companion, a husband, or something like that, just lower your expectations because it's not likely to happen the way that it ought to be. In fact, the whole situation in which you exist is nowhere near the way it ought to be. So therefore, your relationship is not going to be the way it ought to be. This is why a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to think about this racist thing and all like that. I just got to get on with my life. That's the problem. You can't get on with your life because racism is going to touch everything that you do, every move you make. And if you think you can have a relationship outside of racism, it's not going to happen if you're classified as non-white. It's not going to happen. And so any person that you pick for a partner and all like that is going to have some pluses and a whole lot of minuses. The usual suspects, the white supremacists. The white supremacists have to come up with ways of having people, their subjects, tame at all times, just like you tame animals, or you train animals to be tame when you're around, and to go crazy when you're not around, and turn on each other, like dog fights. And that's what black people do in all the cities. You can see that. I mean, trying to run up the murder rate. Black people wake up in the morning and stick, young black males put their 9mm, down in their sock and around their waistband and have one down in their cargo pants. Might have 3 guns, okay? And they feel powerful enough to do what? To make trouble for themselves and certainly to make havoc with other people that look exactly like them. All of the boys that they went to school with and all like that, hunting each other down. This is their full-time job. In order to do what? Shoot at each other. Why? Because somebody put that in a video game and it looked cool. not stopping to think, now is this the most constructive activity I can contribute to my 17 years of existence on this planet, my 34 years of existence on this planet? Is this all I can think about? Is there anything else anywhere on the planet or in the universe that I can think about that would make some kind of sense other than doing this? And then the females going around finger popping and chewing gum and looking wide-eyed and bumping into things, and then, well, hey, this is life, and this is what I choose to do, and this is the greatest thing that ever was or ever will be, is being a member of the Bad Girls Club. So, what is this all about? It's all according to the white supremacist plan. That's what it's all about. And it's supposed to be what? Falling under the category of what? Non-constructive activity. And then the white supremacists, who are not engaged in overall in constructive activity, because everything they do is just about dominating and mistreating people based on color. That's their whole reason for breathing. If black people look like they're getting to the place they don't much like cocaine, we'll come up with something else. We got about 15 dozen other items that we can feed them, and they're always looking for something new. Under the system of white supremacy, you can expect these things. These things are to be expected. Now, you can expect when they start out, to the extent that the white supremacist has anything to do with it. See, I can't say, according to the code, I cannot say that the Virginia or the North Carolina legislature and the people who are doing this by name, I can't name the people who are doing this and call them racist. I will say that if it has anything to do with non-white people that is detrimental, then whomever the racists are, even if they're on the moon, they are to blame if it is somehow detrimental. If it's somehow non-constructive, you always blame the white supremacists for anything that happens in the system of white supremacy that shouldn't happen. So if people are being drugged up like this, the black people don't know anything about drugs. We've said that like for ages. You know, cocaine and all like that, we didn't know anything about that. We didn't know how to use it in a detrimental way on a grand scale like the white supremacists have done. So if they have come up with new types of drugs, and they probably have hundreds of types and hundreds of different variations of detrimental drugs, which are just chemicals, by the way. They can mix and match them and whatnot in a laboratory and whatnot and say, let's go try this on the black people. Okay, well, let's try drug A, and then we'll try drug Q 5 years down the road. Now, when we try them out, we'll get them hooked on it, then we will condemn them for being hooked on it, and then we'll tell them that they are unfit, antisocial, and therefore disqualified for the job. And then we'll go to the next stage saying that, you know what, since you're so drugged up, and your children are so drugged up, and everybody you know is so drugged up, you all come in next Thursday. And I'm not going to punish you because, after all, you are sick. But since you are a bunch of sick people, and you're kind of worthless, really, because you're unreliable on account of these drugs that you have chosen to take, thinking that will solve all your problems, and it just made a whole lot more problems. But you all come in, and I'll have mercy on you, and I'll just see to it that you don't have any offspring. So that'll be the next drug I'll give you. Come in, and all you dark-skinned people come in here and get sterilized, because you're not going to do anything but produce a whole bunch of worthless children. And that's already been proven. You yourself say that your children are worthless. You even express how much they're worthless by, if I turn my back as your master for 5 minutes, you start killing each other. That's all you know what to do with each other. You don't know how to do anything with each other but kill each other and call each other names all day. You're constantly searching for newer and better names to call each other. You want to fight on the buses. You want to fight on the streets. So I'm just going to sterilize a bunch of you.
Wow.
And I'll be doing you a favor. Well, Anybody who adopts that, that's a weak adoption, I would say, through counter-racist codified logic. So for black people, rite of passage means you need to pass out from under the system of racism. That should be the black rite of passage. I mean, even these fraternities and sororities that believe in beating up on people and whatnot and taking them through some type of ritualized rite of passage by beating them or calling them names or taking them through some type of test. That is insane. They ought to stop doing it, those that are still doing it. That should be an absolute no-no. An absolute no-no. That is completely insane. And you don't teach people that type of thing and do it under the banner of some type of sophistication. That this is some type of advancement, some type of civilizing process. It absolutely is not. And beating up on the females, which is a tribal custom among a whole bunch of black people worldwide, needs to stop this very minute. This very minute. And repeating what I said just a few minutes ago, you black males, you're not qualified. I don't care how you strut around talking about you were great kings and queens. I mean, going back to the pyramids and all this kind of... Stop shamming. Stop shamming. You're not fooling anybody but yourselves. And the white supremacists are laughing at you, laughing at all of us. You don't have a right to even talk harshly to a black female. You lost that if you ever had it in the first place, and you shouldn't have had it, because why talk harshly to people? Why beat people? Well, this is my woman. You don't own anything because you don't own yourself. Come off of it. Somebody needs to say these things, and I'm saying them because they're true. And you got to start with the truth. And we can't handle the truth, even though we're always talking about keeping it real more than anybody. But we keep it real among ourselves, and that's a fantasy. Because when we're dealing with the white supremacists, we're nothing but little whimpering animals. That's it. We know that. But we don't have to remain that way. But you got to face the truth. When you've been beaten, you say you've been beaten. Every football player knows that. If he's going to win the next game, say you've been beaten. Say that your cornerback wasn't in the correct place. Say that the quarterback is no good. Say that you can't get into the end zone on no game, rather than keep fantasizing about, well, I had a dream last night and I made 100 touchdowns. So I'm going to go with my nightmare that I had rather than reality. I'm a loser. The way to become a winner is, first of all, acknowledge that you're losing. That's in gambling, that's in business, that's in football, it's in everything that makes sense on this planet. Someone called in and they was talking about leadership, and I wasn't knocking leadership, and some suggestions were made about who should be supported as a leader. And under the compensatory logic that I have written about and that I follow, I'm duty bound to say that anybody who wants to become a leader should just step forward and become a leader. Now, a leader has to have followers, so it's just a matter of how efficient a leader is at gathering followers. I'm not opposed to that, because I think some people might have gotten the idea that I was opposed to black people having leaders. No, definitely not. If you can become a leader, but then who is the official leader of black people as of this moment? And I'm saying the official leader of black people throughout this planet as of this moment are the white supremacists. They are my leaders. They're the ones who have the muscle to tell me what to do. They can make me do things. You know, now there might be some black person somewhere who will say, oh, well, I can make you do things too. But it's been my observation that black people who say that they are leaders, when they even try to get other black people to do things, they have to answer to the white supremacists. Because the white supremacists say there's not going to be one leader on this planet, and that leader is going to be white. So Don't think that because you give yourself a title as a black person of being a leader of black people. I'm the leader of black people. And so if you think you're going to compete with me, even if you think you can put the muscle on black people and get them to follow you, you still have to answer to me. Because when you put the muscle on them, and I don't approve of the way you're using that muscle, then you're in trouble with me. And you dare get in my face, because you know what will happen to you. And this has been my observation all along. That's why I say there's no such thing as black leaders. There are black spokespersons. I'm a black spokesperson. Why? Because I speak. Any black person that speaks, that's all you have to do is just speak. And you are a black spokesperson. But a leader has to have muscle to back up what they say and break anybody's arm that doesn't like it, or break their necks if it comes to it. In other words, a leader has to have the muscle from somewhere. Well, I don't know if the Holy Bible was put together by the white supremacists or not. That's controversial. Some people say yes, some people say no. I say I don't know.
Okay.
But I do know this. Whatever the white supremacists touch, they are not going to fool with it for 5 minutes unless they figure out a way in 5 minutes to put it to work for the system of white supremacy. They'll find something else to touch. So if a white supremacist puts his hand on a Bible, or her hand on a Bible, they are going to say, now, this Bible is already here, but I am going to use it to do the things that I want to do. And I'm going to make everybody else of color fall in line so that this Bible will support whatever it is that I want done. And I will even change the meaning of every passage of it without changing a word. I'll just say, that's not what that means. And the black preacher will say, that is what that means. It's right here in the Bible. But the white supremacists say, boy, what did I say it meant? It meant that yesterday. Why? Because I said that it meant that yesterday. But that's not what it means today, boy. Hey, who is your master here on earth? Your master in your heart and in your head and in your church that I allow you to have is somebody else. But you call your God, and that's okay, I'll let you do that. But boy, when I walk in your church, with or without a gun, you will, and you and your congregation, your choir, and everybody you got here, young and old, will and have obeyed me from day one. So don't get in my face waving a Bible, boy. Now, the white supremacists, just like they do with, I make this comparison because, lots of people like their dogs, but their dog is still a dog. You might put your dog in a fur coat and walk it out into the winter snow, and that dog is wearing an expensive fur coat made for dogs. Some people may do that. Why? Because they really favor their dogs. I won't say like, but they have, they just say, I want a dog, and it's my dog, so I'm going to treat my dog with great comfort. It's the same way with some white supremacists. They'll say, I'm going to take my Negro and put him in the finest clothes you ever want to see. I'm going to dress him up, and I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to have a show of several of my favorite black people. And I'm going to have them go around in a circle, and show off all their diamonds and their tattoos and their hairdos and all of this. I'm going to groom them well, just like I do the rest of my animals, my dogs, my horses, my other stable of other things, in order to do what? Embellish me. Say, hey, I am so wealthy that I can make my Negroes think that they are kings. Put them on a pedestal. and have them prance around and show off particularly to other Negroes about all the wonderful things that they got from me. Racism itself is an insane proposition. You know, what is racism? White supremacy. What is white supremacy? Mistreating people or treating people like they're criminals because of color. Also, you have, you know, people in very high positions who say that if you're a person with black skin, you are a toilet. So what do you do to a toilet? The little girl is a toilet, okay, in the minds of the white supremacists. This is universal. That's what a black person is. You know, a urinal, a toilet, you know, a commode bowl. That's what that is walking down the street toward you. If you're white, you're taught that. That is nothing. That is something to be disdained. That's something to have off to the side somewhere. A Jiffy John, I mean, you know, a portable toilet hidden over there in the trees. Hide that thing. I mean, you know, that toilet. I mean, that's not anything to, you know, that's not a shrine or anything. That's something that you hide. You know, even want people to see you going in there. All right? Okay. That's what these things that we have recognized, we call them, in order to make them feel better, we call them people, but that's not what they really are. They are less than animals. Even the animals we bring out and parade in the streets and whatnot and show off, okay? And we'll do a few of them like that, a few of our chosen ones. But basically, when you're looking at a black person, you are looking at a commode. Walking down the street, that's what that is. And what do you do to a commode? You treat it like it's a commode. End of story. See, black people have to see themselves the way that the white supremacists see us every day when they pass us on the street. Here comes a toilet. That's what that is, a walking toilet. And if I have to relieve myself, that's the thing that I'm going to do it in.
Wow. Whew. In those situations, what can we, or what do we learn, you know, from that, or how are we supposed to interpret that?
Interpret it just the way I saw it. I said it. See, when I walk down the street, I think that that's what they're thinking. Okay?
But does that make it true?
Exactly what they're thinking.
Okay.
If they're white supremacists, I shouldn't even be in existence. I'm just something that you tolerate in existence. I shouldn't even exist. I shouldn't be walking down the street taking up the sidewalk. That's why sometimes they almost walk right into you. I mean, you know, move. My goodness. I'm a white person. Get out of my way. You're not supposed to be on this planet, Negro. What are you doing breathing? Where'd you come from? Who created you? Who would have the nerve to create something like you? I mean, who would make that kind of mistake? You're nothing but a walking mistake. My God, deliver me. But since you're here, I'll put up with you. But I ain't going to put up with you very much. That's it. That's the whole philosophy in the mind of a white supremacist. If we don't understand that, then we don't understand the world that we're in. Oh, well, black people getting into what you call elected office and not keeping their promises, that's what you expect. See, that's a part of the code. You always expect that. Why? Because they can't a black person cannot promise anything who has been elected in a system of white supremacy unless the white supremacists say that I'm going to back up your promise. So it's always a guess. The black person may have the best of intentions, and most of them do. But in the system of white supremacy, the white supremacist said, I know you promised those black people this, that, and the other, all your relatives and cousins and whatnot, but I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to let you do it. So forget about that, boy. Forget about that, gal. You ain't getting it. And so you go out there and explain it any way you want to. But anything that you are going to give them, you got to get it from me. You have nothing on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You are subject to me. Hey, wake up. You're in the system of white supremacy. So no black person on this planet can promise anything to any other black person without the white supremacist saying, oh, yes, I'll see to it that you can make good on that promise, because anything that you have, you got to get it from me. And if you don't have it, you can't give it to them. Well, there's a long list of suggestions that a non-white person can make to a white person about what a white person can do that's in the code book. But since I'm not looking at it directly right now, two of the things that are right at the top of that list. First of all, never, ever say anything to a non-white person that is not true. Because a lot of white people are always asking, they're making statements rather, they're saying, black people are always marching and complaining and whining about this and whining, and they never give you any details about doing anything. They just say that we don't like the way things are. And they break windows and turn cars over and foam at the mouth and shout slogans and whatnot, but they never go into any details about what it is that they want us to do. They call us all these names: racists, white supremacists, bigots, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not businesslike. They just believe in running up and down the street throwing things and yelling and insults and calling us names. And we white people who want to help don't know what to do because they're too busy calling us names and not going into any details, not acting like they're going to sit down and do business in a sane, methodical manner to solve their problems. They just say, we don't like it the way it is, and we are racist, and blah, 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 blah. So the code approaches this, the counter-racist code, the suggestions that I make, because many times they're telling the truth about that. Back in the 1960s, some white people were asking that same question, just in that way. What do you want us to do? Name something. And they just say, well, they just say, well, what do you want? See, they use that word want. And I remember in one instance, the answer was from a group of black people was, well, what do we want? What do you got? Okay, and everybody laughed. See, but it's no laughing matter. I mean, when it comes right down to when the rubber meets the road. So the first order of business, I thought about that. That's why I started putting it in the book. Oh, when they ask you a specific question, what do you want? And you want to get into specifics, say, well, now, first thing we want is don't ever say anything to a non-white person that's not true. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we want housing, we want better jobs, we want et cetera, et cetera. We can get to that later. That's on the list, too. But top of the list is don't say anything to a non-white person that's not true. Why? Why is that in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, right at the top of the list of what you say to white people when they ask, what do you people want? Why is that at the top of the list? Because white supremacy thrives on falsehood. This is the first thing they do when they get ready to mess over people, is start saying things that are not true and get people to believe it in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. The white supremacists make sure that they have a whole arsenal, a whole warehouse of things that they say that are not true. Because when you fool people, you got them. When you got people completely dizzy, walking around, with a head full of non-truths. Everything you have said to them, or most of the things you have said, have turned out not to be true at all. That person is just groggy right from the lies that they're getting, all right, the non-truths. So the first order of business, don't say anything. If you want to really help, don't say anything ever to a non-white person. If you're a white person, don't say anything ever to a non-white person that is not true. Make sure that what you are saying is absolute truth. Don't say anything ever that's not true. And number two, because I named two things. That's the first one. Number two, right at the top of the list. And these two things will go a long ways. Don't say anything that's not true. And number two is don't withhold constructive information. The minute, on a job or anywhere else, the minute you get that constructive information, pass it on to a needy, a non-white person who is in need. That information, and they don't have that information, is constructive information. Don't withhold constructive information. Don't keep it to yourself. Or pass it on to other white people and skip over the non-white people. Don't do that. In fact, make it a priority to give it to the person who needs it most. And in many cases, I'll say, probably in most cases, it'll be a non-white person that needs that constructive information. Constructive information goes a long ways. Information is power. Constructive information is power all over the world. All right? So don't withhold constructive information. The white supremacists are skillful at doing that. They'll give you a whole bunch of information, but it'll be non-constructive. They'll rush to give a non-white person a whole bunch of ideas, a whole bunch of information to send them down a path that's headed for destruction. So we want constructive information, all of that constructive information, any constructive information that you have, anything that you think will wind up really helping this non-white person, give it to them immediately. Make a beeline to them deliberately and do it. Those two things will go a long ways. The white supremacists, because it's not just the white people who are not white supremacists do not have any power. They have already proven that. If the white people who are not white supremacists had power, then the white people who are white supremacists wouldn't be white supremacists, because the white people who are not white supremacists would use their power to put them out of business. They haven't done that. So it makes the white people who are white supremacists the most powerful people on the planet. Okay. And that's why we still have it. We wouldn't be having this conversation if it was different. It's no walls, really. It's just people. I mean, people changing their minds. And so it's the job of black people, first of all, to recognize that the biggest problem on the planet is the system of white supremacy, and to persuade one way or another, I say through codification, the white people who practice white supremacy to stop being white supremacists. They haven't built any walls. It's them. They're the wall. It's just what they do every day. Stop mistreating people based on color. That's all it is. All white supremacy is just a white person talking to another white person and saying, look at that person over there. And the other white person takes a look and say, yes, I see that person over there. Say, does that person have color in his or her skin? Yes, that person has color in his or her skin. Well, now, we have an agreement that When we look at a person who has color in his or her skin, that person is eligible to be dominated and mistreated by the two of us. Is that agreed upon? And the other white person says, yes, agreed upon. Let's shake hands and let's proceed to go toward that person of color and proceed to dominate and mistreat that person of color. Why? Because we have decided to do so. Now, just like they decided to do so, they can undecide to do so, decide to do something else, like replace this system that they've set up with justice. It's the job of every non-white person and every white person who doesn't believe in that system to work every day to replace that system with a better system. That better system would be called justice. Very simple. By simply realizing that you're in a system of racism and you're in captivity. Now, that doesn't say anything about you can't be dignified if you want to be, but you are a dignified prisoner of war. And what's the difference between a dignified slave and a silly one? One is dignified and one is silly. But they're both prisoners of war once they are captured. See, you're a prisoner of war. Racism is war. It's war. The greatest war that was ever conducted among the people of what we call the planet Earth. There's no war that's been greater than the establishment and the maintenance and the refinement of the system of white supremacy. It's a continuation of a war, the greatest war that ever was. That's the war between those who believe in racism and those who don't. And so far, the racists have been winning that war. So it's just a matter of the people who are the victims of it realizing this and saying, well, we're going to fight against it. But we're in captivity already, so you got to fight. There's no such thing as fighting from the outside. There's no such thing as outside. So you fight from the inside of the prison. Like prisoners of war are always trying to escape the prison. But this is a prison that you can't escape from. You have to dismantle the prison itself and replace it with a system of justice. That's the goal. And what does justice mean? It means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most, like yourself, gets the most constructive help. That's not happening in the system of racism, and it won't happen. So you won't get discouraged simply by realizing what your circumstances are, because now you have something to aim for. Get rid of the system of racism. That should be your reason for being. If you have any other priority, then it's not logical for you to be doing anything else. Everything that you're doing is supposed to be aimed toward replacing the system of racism with the system of justice. Why? Because it is the greatest oppressive system ever invented in the minds of people here on this planet. Nothing has been greater than that.
No, papi. I know black.